What's up YouTube? This is Sysdemes back once again with another project tutorial. This time we're going to be looking at boundary numb. Once again, the real project file, no modifications. This is just what it looks like. So let's get right into it. So this is boundary numb, and I guess let's start off with the let's start with the title, boundary numb. I couldn't pick out a track name. I was gonna name boundary and I was gonna name it numb, and so I said I'll name it both. I'll name boundary and then put numb in parentheses. So hey, we got two names. The structure of the track I kept pretty standard. We have the 4-bar intro, because honestly I wrote this track with the club in mind. I was thinking of a dark club, not like peak hours. I was thinking of like 4 a.m. just like everyone's tired. You know how your muscles feel when you're in a nightclub and it's like super tired, you're super late, you're just kind of like barely there mentally, and you're just kind of like bobbing along with the music. That's honestly what I was thinking when I was writing this track. I was like, what does that sound like? And so that was my idea with this track. So I want to keep it a little bit empty, keep it pretty minimal, and just make like make a groover. Nothing crazy. I just want to make a vibe. So start with the 4-bar drum intro, and then it goes into the drop. Yeah, the intro. Let me play the intro as well. It's literally just the kick and the clap, because I was thinking of live shows when I made this. There's also a pad that's ramping up, which is the pad that's used in the breakdown, which we'll get there when we get to the breakdown. We have a voice, which I'll explain more later when we get there. It says like stuff the entire track. It's kind of like subliminal messaging. And then it drops into the bass. The bass comes in. And the bass is so strong, I feel like I didn't want to have a FX impact. Usually when the drop starts, there's a big cymbal crash or something. At least for the first drop, I wanted the bass just come in hard. I didn't want it to hide it under any effects. I wanted it to hit. I wanted it to hit accurately. So we start bringing in the other drums. The drum, basically the fill effects and stuff. Grooving along, and then the track progresses, bringing the other hi-hats, bringing some other synths. Going to a breakdown, which is down here. A lot of LFOs going on, envelopes, bring in frequencies, bring out frequencies. Slowly ramp up the synth to drop it in again. Then you run it back, bring back all the same elements. And then it's the fade out, the drum outro. I thought a lot about how I was going to end this track, and I decided to go with the FX fade out. I love that ending. I love this track. So let's dive into the sounds that make the track. That was the structure. Now let's see what's in here. So this project file and the whole idea of the track started with the drums for me. So we're going to start there. We'll solo the drum beat and see what it sounds like. So these little fills down here are kind of just like how I did my other tutorials. It's cut from loops. I take little sections and use them as fills. So this was cut from this entire loop. I just found a section that sounded nice and threw it in there. The whole idea of the track, and when I started everything, was I had this rhythm in my head with the kick, and I'll play it. Oh, the extra kick's not playing. Where's the extra kick? There it is. And that was the rhythm that I got in my head originally when I started the project. I wanted to make a track around these extra kicks. because it's a 4 on the floor track, so obviously the kick's gonna hit every beat. But I thought about having these extra kicks on top coming in between and creating a different kind of groove from a regular 4 on the floor track. So it was really just a minimal drum beat. I mean, I just have a simple clap and some, some fills. I have this cymbal thing, which I thought is pretty cool. We'll play that. I have one cymbal hitting. There's a ton of reverb on it. Where is that? Right here. Yeah, we have a black hole on it. We have some EQ, cut the lows out. Geom effects is part delay. Yeah, it's just the delay, and then some sidechain on it. Then this other cymbal down here is going right here. This is it's just a reverse cymbal. That's all it is. And I have it play, I think it's like every other bar about, just to help the transition a little bit. Like as you're progressing, you want little bits of ear candy. So anytime there's not a fill, like you see how there's a fill here, right here, and then down here there is no fill, so we have a reverse cymbal, and then right here there's a fill, reverse cymbal. So like anywhere there's a dead space, I can throw in the reverse cymbal into the groove to try to add more texture and character to it. We have a clap, and where's the clap? Clap right there. I didn't do anything to the clap because it sounds fine as it is. As the drums progress and they start to open up more, let me solo just the drums. It's just some hi-hats and another clap layer. There's also a texture down here we can hear, which is this one, not that one. I wonder which one it is. Here it is. This is a loop that I chopped up again, which you're gonna find a lot of my music because I like to chop up loops, especially watch my streams. We EQ'd it a lot, and it was just kind of a texture that is just gonna sit underneath. It's not really percussive because I put a lot of reverb on it, a lot of delay, and I just let it kind of flow underneath. It's like it's a percussive loop, but it doesn't sound like percussion. It's just an extra texture that's underneath, and this is actually in the second half of the song only. You can see that like the first half of the track is over here. It comes in the breakdown, and it stays only in the second half of the track. Is when I have a 2-drop track, which basically all of them are 2-drop tracks because it's like standard structure. I like to have extra percussive elements on the second half if I can, or change up the second half in some way. So this texture underneath was how I made the second half, broken up, and it wasn't the exact same as the other half of the track. I mean, it basically was. The top half of the drums are like, they're a replication, but the texture underneath is different, and so that makes the two halves feel a little bit different as far as percussion goes. As far as drum processing in all, other than those sounds I talked about, it's not really too much going on. I don't like to do a lot to my drums, just some EQs. Sometimes you like a little OTT sound godizer action, a little bit of sidechain on some things. But that's pretty much it. Keep it pretty standard. And they go into the drum bus. Drum bus is just like keeping transients contained so they're not too crazy, like the mids. I don't want the mid transients too high. You can see every spike in the Maximus is the clap. The clap transient was hitting louder than the kick transient. I didn't want that. So let's put a little shelf right here to try to cap the clap transient so that it wasn't so crazy and so loud all the time. Same for the hi-hats. The high end, I also capped it. I didn't want it too high, a little bit softer. It's not so crazy. So that was the drums, and that's really, honestly, that's the start of the project, was the drums. I had an empty, I remember having like the empty drum loop and not knowing what to do with it. What can I, how can I pull a track together from this? 'Cause I did like the drum loop that I built, and the structure was a lot different back when I had just the drums, because all I had is just the drums. Is basically just like the small section at the beginning is just like here to here. It's how long it's like one of those, you know, eight bar loops. How do you turn it into a track? That's what it started as, is an 8-bar loop with these drums. And I was able to structure out into a whole track. So we'll get into the other track elements. So let's talk about the bass, which is next thing to come into the track, which is pattern 6. So this is almost the same patch from Dragon's Gamble, the other track on the EP. I use this patch a lot. I made it in my As the Rush Comes remix. That's why it's called As the Rush Comes Bass, which I never released. But the patch has really good tone, really good low end rumble, and that's why I end up using it a lot in my tracks. I do try to change it up a little bit though from track to track, like tonally. You can drag the waveform different position, adjust the amounts of how they're mixed in, different stuff like that. Like this doesn't even have the distortion turned on. I think in the Dragon's Gamble I had the distortion on, I'm pretty sure. So just, flavoring it a little bit differently, messing with the preset. So it still has like that sound that people know me for, because I use this in a lot of tracks, like this style of bass, this style of bass patch, this OSC stacking. I like OSC stacking a lot. But switching up a little bit so that it doesn't have the exact same sound every single track. That's something you want to avoid. You want to at least modify it a little bit. So the LFO is on the cutoff, and the cutoff actually affects like the pitch a little bit. You can hear how when the wavetable is more open, the pitch is almost going like up and down. Let me solo it. Hear how the pitch is kind of going up and down a little bit? That's just off the cutoff, because the cutoff is opening the wavetable, the higher end of the sound, and the high end has a different tonal value than the low end. So as it opens the cutoff, it's also opening up the different frequencies, and just it gives it that sound as the envelope keeps opening and closing. It gives it that kind of pitch bend effect, which I think was pretty cool. Because I'm not even like using an automation clip to get that effect. I'm not doing anything. It's not even playing a melody, it's just playing a single note. I'm just holding that note down because I didn't want something crazy to conflict with the drum rhythm. Like if I play the kicks together, I want something that would flow along with it. And I'll turn the sidechain back on. That was really my goal, and like I wanted a simple enough low end rumble that it wasn't just a low end rumble. I wanted a little bit interesting, which I picked that patch out for this track because I still wanted to be complementary to the drum rhythm, because this drum rhythm was the idea of the whole track. So I didn't want anything that's going to overshadow it or compete with it. I wanted something that would work underneath the drum rhythm. As far as processing, I have just a ferric. I throw that on all my basses, and even like synths sometimes. It's just a great saturator. It is like everything that you want from like that kind of plugin. Also distortion, but I usually don't use it for distortion. I just want to saturate it a little bit. EQ, which isn't doing anything, is probably just leftover. And then I have a low pass, which is like for the intro outro stuff. So not a lot of processing on the bass. I just keep it really simple. You see the low pass is right here. As like the track ends, it'll fade out and low pass the bass as the track ends. But other than that, like, I mean, yeah, it's just the bass patch sitting there. Nothing crazy for this track. I just kept it very simple. To keep that kind of dark club vibe. Alright, so the other synth in the track is pattern 7. So we'll pull that up, which is this sound. We'll solo that. Let me go to a part of the track that's more open, and let me turn off the sidechain. So that's pretty much it. It's just a simple 4-note melody, an ARP. It's just a really basic saw pluck. Like, it's not even multiple voices. It's single voice, totally mono. just a low pass envelope. It has a pretty hard distortion on it, but no hyper. As you know, usually with my projects, I was experimenting with it. And I just didn't delete them. I just turn it off. The compressor didn't work. It made it way too bright. I have delay, and that's really it. Like, I just wanted the most basic saw pluck to complement the track, because really, like, my whole mentality with this project was that drum rhythm, and it wasn't like a normal way to produce me where I'm trying to like make things really interesting or trying to push sound design. For this track, I had an idea in my mind, like a vibe I wanted for the track, and like a mental image pretty much of what I wanted it to sound like and what I wanted it to be produced like. And it didn't have like I didn't want all the flares of complicated production techniques. I just wanted to get in and get the job done, and I feel like a single voice pluck really had the sound I wanted for the track. I feel like it complemented everything well. And the processing is really not anything. Like, we have an EQ, just cut out the lows, a little boost at 740. And then this is just a low pass and a sidechain. We have a fracture on it, which is a cool like glitching plugin, which like causes re-triggers. And we have that turn up as the breakdown starts, so you can see like the fracture envelope right here. And you can see the fracture starting to turn up, the amount of like how it's breaking. The low pass is also turning on. You can kind of hear it. It's like it's starting to break up the rhythm. It's not perfect anymore. And then it starts getting sidechained again. But yeah, so that's the only thing we do to the pluck, is the fracture. The fracture breaks the sound up, basically, in the breakdown. Other than that, like, it's just pretty simple. Like, it just plays along with the bass. I think they have a cool sound together. Like, tonally, the pitch bend on the bass matches all the notes of the ARP. So it complements each other. If I had different notes in the ARP, it probably wouldn't match with the bass, because the bass is like sliding around tonally. So I wanted the notes to match the bass as the bass slid around the tones. So we do have some other synths in here. Let me see. All right, this sound. Turn all the envelopes. Right. So this, the computer lead type thing. This was another Vengeance synth shot. I love those. I forgot the original sounded like. Let me clone this so we can like hear it. Hear the processing difference. Spit out right there. So that was the original synth shot, which sounds cool on its own, right? But what I did to it was I did pitch it way down. And if I mute the effects, like, let me mute the effects so you can hear just the slowed down version. That's what I decided to do to it. I saw pitching it down, it sounded a lot better. Also fit the key of the track. This is something important. You want to make sure your sounds are, you don't want to just throw in random sounds. You have to pitch it to the track. I think I went down quite a bit. Let me see. I went down 8. So along with like keeping the circle of fifths and stuff, I could have gone up 2, right? Up 2 would have preserved, like, because the closer to to the middle with for pitch. As long with FL Studio, 50% is the middle. It's the standard pitch. The closer to the middle, the less artifacts and less fractured the sound is going to get. So I could have gone +2 to keep it in the same key, but instead I went to, oh wait, no, sorry, +4. I could have gone +4 to keep it in the same key, but I went to -8 because I thought it sounded better lower than higher. Even though it's farther away from the middle, I didn't mind that it was getting totally warped and like artifacty. I thought it actually made the sound cooler, honestly. And then processing that, I put serum effects for delay and EQ to cut out the lows, ton of black hole, ton of reverb. Then I have some low pass, like not exactly a low pass, it's like a high pass. Try to cut out some of the highs, make it sound a little bit more farther back in the space in the breakdown. Then we also have an extra delay come in. So like with all the processing on it, it sits really far in the back, and it doesn't honestly sound anywhere near the original sample. It sounds like a computer voice in my mind, kind of like a computer singing. And this also complements the ARP very well. If I turn on just the synths, let's see. I'll turn off that voice. I didn't talk about that yet. I'll put the bass in. So that was the something I wanted to add as a texture to make the track a little bit more interesting. I thought it needed, like, because I want to keep the track minimal, but I also didn't want it to be like too minimal. I want to throw in at least some stuff. So the ARP and the synth play with each other nicely. Tonally, they all work together, especially with the bass that's like pitch sliding around. So it all worked together. I think it makes a cool synth texture. It has all cool elements. So the next sound we're going to talk about is this sound right here, which is, I think, this. So this is kind of like a weird pad texture shot. I'll turn off the sidechain on it. That is just in the second half of the track. It's not in the first half of the track. And this is a Vengeance FX sound that we reprocessed. So I'll clone this, and I'll turn off the, I'll send it somewhere new channel, like right here. And let's fix the pitch. This is the original sound. Oh wait, it's muted. So it's kind of cool. It's a little bit sharp on the ears, actually, some of the frequencies that get hit. And it didn't have a lot of room to it. It's very dry sound. And I wanted to bring in something a lot more roomy. So when I pitched it down, and let me turn off the effects. When I pitched it down, that's what it sounded like. It fit the key of the track a lot better. And it, like, the key isn't listed here. I did this by ear. I just kept playing it at every, basically, I modified the pitch and played it at every time. Move 100, check the pitch. Move 100, check the pitch. Until eventually you have the, the right key. Well, what you presume to be the right key, right? Because you're just doing it by ear. You can't really check. I mean, there's software for it, but I don't have it. I just use my ears. So the processing is you just put a ton of reverb on it. EQ'd it. Took a lot of the highs out because those are the frequencies that were kind of hurting. Like, it was too sharp up there, so I just cut them all out. And it ended up being a lot softer that way. And then, just more delay, reverb and delay on everything. And then after all that, a little bit more of a cut. It just wasn't cut enough. So a little bit more of a cut in the middle. And with the sidechain and everything, it just added another layer to the second half of the track. So like, really, you don't even have all the elements of the track until the second half of the track. Like, the first drop of the track is super empty because there's like a sense of progression. Like, this percussive texture we talked about, and then this synth texture, both only exist in the second half of the track. They don't exist in this half at all. So the track doesn't really open up. Like, even looking at the percussion rhythm up here, like, you can see all the double kicks that we have in the first half of the track. The double kicks are only on the transitions, like the, you know, the 2/4 count. It's not even the idea of the track isn't even developed here. It was really a long build, like a true progression into the full idea of the track. You don't get everything playing at once until the very last minute of the track. You know, you gotta get through the whole track to get to that point. So really, it's like the peak of progressive ideals of, like, really you progress through the whole track. Literally the last minute of the song, you get all your layers together. You know, that final payoff of, like, hearing everything in its glory. We're all working together. Which I guess, like, if you have a song, thinking of it like a journey, you'd want to have a payoff for people who listen to the whole song. So I think the best part of the track is that last minute, because you're getting all your sounds together at once. So the next thing we'll talk about in the track was, I guess we'll talk about this voice up here. Because honestly, I don't really remember, other than, like, starting the project, I don't really remember what came next. So we'll just, like, I wanted to go chronologically, but we'll just go, like, you know, whatever I haven't covered yet. So we have this voice here, which, where is that, by the way? What pattern is that? What audio clip? Let's see. Breaking Colossus. Okay, so if you don't know about FL Studio, it has a speech synthesizer built into the DAW. You can open it, and it has, like, computer type voices and different effects, and I wouldn't say characters, but it's kind of like different characters that you can make say things and modify the way they say things. So the line I did was, and you can type in the voices, and I'll take off the effects on it, and this is the patch I created. Where is it? Just had it here. Oh wait, that's just one. I have 4 different of them. Yeah, that one. Okay, so I'll turn it up because so you guys can hear it, because it's pretty quiet. I'll play it one more time. So it says I've reached a breaking point. It doesn't really mean anything. I just kind of, like, in my depresso mode when I was writing this track, and, like, mentally I was kind of at my breaking point, like being stuck in my house for 2 years, it feels like. So it just kind of threw it in the track as just so, like, you know, it's where I was at mentally. I was at the breaking point, honestly. But it's just I've used the voice Colossus, that's why it says Colossus at the end. So if you go in FL and you open your speech synthesizer, if you go to Colossus and then select Whispered, you can type in anything and it'll be the same voice as using this track. Obviously, I can't have it saying I've reached a breaking point the entire track, or people think I'm, you know, weird. So I wanted to break it up so it doesn't really sound like that. So I put a ton of delay on it. And with the side chain as well, you can barely even hear what's there. So it's kind of like just subconsciously, you know, a little depressing message subconsciously thrown into the track for everybody. And that was kind of like another texture that is just in the background. That's really the theme of this track. It's just the drum rhythm with, you know, the low end rumble, and then just this little texture things that I've thrown into the track. There's not like there's no lead melody or like lead synth. It's not what this track's about. This track's about just vibing out. When I wrote this track, I envisioned like a super dark club, you know, peak hours. Well, not peak hours, maybe like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., where like after the crowd's left and people are just still, you know, still in the club. That's when I like to be in the clubs. I mean, peak hours are cool, but when you're just like chilling out and the music's so loud and like it's dark, just like that's what kind of I was channeling when I was writing this track. I just want something like minimal. Like, what would I want to hear if I'm like just vibing in a club, just chilling by myself? You know, it'd be something like this. I just want to feel the bass. I don't need some big lead to like catch my ear, entertain me, you know. So let's see what else we got in here. So the next sound, I think I covered actually all the sounds that are in like the main drops of the track. So we will go into the breakdown. So we'll start with this. This is the pad. We'll go that. Pattern 9. Oh, I'm already on it. Okay. Pattern 9. And I'll turn this way up because this is pretty quiet because it's really just a very backing texture in the track. So this is the patch. Oh look, I made it. You can see my name in there. I didn't make it for the project. I have a preset stash of things I've made, and this is just in the preset stash. Because I used to sound design a ton and just save like, you know, tons and tons of presets. It's just one of them pulled from my personal collection. It's just like 2 spectral wavetables. They're FMing a little bit. You know, there's some LFOs on like the sync and the cutoff and different things like that. I'm pretty sure there's some LFOs on the reverb as well. Like, yeah, the reverb comes in and out. Really, the whole sound design is the comb filter. That's what's kind of like smearing the sound around. If I play it without the comb filter, I'll like turn this up because it's gonna be super quiet. Hear that? How it sounds without the comb filter off? It just sounds kind of weird. But if you have the comb filter, it kind of like spreads everything around. So it makes like, usually a pad is made by like, you know, you could drown a sound in reverb, something like that. But you can also use comb filters to make pads, because it like washes out the frequencies. Other than that, like, I don't know. Good luck recreating this patch because I probably couldn't recreate this. It looks pretty complicated. Yeah, I don't really remember how like all this stuff is routed. Because I don't need to know how it's routed. You know, you make it sound once and you just pull it up. As long as it's your own sound, you know, just drop it in. So you know, good luck. Alright, so the next sound in the breakdown is this one. We'll solve this. And we'll find this sound right here. So this is just a simple melody. I'll pull up the MIDI on this with the pattern 1. This was the first synth I actually made in the track. I was experimenting with having this be in the drop along with the drums and the bass and, like, you know, the double kicks. It just didn't work out, but I really liked it. I thought it was cool, so I didn't want to abandon it. So I saved it and we put it in the breakdown instead. So this is the MIDI. FFCG, G sharp, that is. Pretty simple stuff. The serum is, you know, 2 saws. You know, a lot of sounds are just saws. They're FMing one to each other, and then you have the cutoff envelope, so like it's not like a hit, it's like a slope into the sound. And there's a lot of legato, well, not legato, there's a lot of slide, and portamento, right? That's the word. I got them mixed up. It has a lot of portamento. It's mono, so then you can hear like the notes kind of slide into each other. It's not like it's hitting 2 separate notes. It's like sliding around. And I was experimenting a lot with this sound. You can see there's a lot of things disabled. I ended up not keeping any of them. Really, if I turn off everything I'm not using, you know, turn that off, turn that off, turn that off. Really, this sound is just, you know, the 3. I just, you know, I didn't turn them off. I just kept them because who cares? But that's it. It's really just simple lead. It's just FM saws and then, you know, portamento sliding around, and then cut off envelope that kind of has it ramp around. Something else is I have a halftime gross beat, so it's actually half the time signature of normal, which is giving it that kind of lazy sound. If I turn that off, that's what it sounds like at full speed. I put the gross speed on it to slow it down because it sounds better. It sounds like it fit the vibe of the track better. I wanted a kind of you know, hazy club sound, hazy club beat, where you'd be tired. So it just sounded better slowed down. It's playing at half the speed of normal. Something else is like the effect chain, like the order of operations really matters when you're using time signature stuff and gross beat. Like if I put the reverb before the black hole, it would sound totally different. Hear how the reverb like ducks every time it resets because it's resetting the time signature. So you have to have your effects that you don't want in the time signature, put them after the time modification. EQ, I just put a boost at like 300, cut the lows, boost highs a little bit, and then it wasn't enough. So second time I boost, I cut the lows again, then did a ton of boosting up in the upper mids, try to bring out those frequencies a lot. I planned for this sound to be in the drop, it just didn't work out that way. It just didn't sound as good. I don't think there's any other sounds in the breakdown. I think we covered everything. I mean, really, this track doesn't have a lot of channels. Like at 27, I think is the max. And most of it's drum layers, which is, you know, I don't know if it counts. So yeah, this track is pretty empty, but I'm happy with it. I think it's cool. You don't need to have every track be fully stacked full of like, I have 100 channels, you know, that doesn't matter. Just do whatever sounds cool. Also what satisfies yourself as an artist. So next, let's go to the effects, I guess, because I think I covered all the like main synths, synth sounds, basses, drums, basically covered everything. So the effects, pretty simple and standard. I mean, you're not going to see anything crazy with the effects. We have a reverse perk sound, which I'll play it. This was a perk hit that was like the regular way, like it wasn't reversed, and it had a delay on it, so you can kind of hear the delay, kind of like, like the perk like hitting as it's like playing backwards. So I just basically I consolidated it, reversed it, and then I made a riser with a little bit more texture in it. I thought it was cool. And I just put that in places where I thought I needed it. And then I have this pad thing, which is just a sample. I don't think I did much to it even. And this was something that was like if you watch my tutorial, I add things after I already make the track. I already made the track and rendered it, and then I went back in after it was mixed and mastered, and I thought it needed something else, some other texture in the breakdown. So we added this pad sample, and I didn't really do much to it. Like I said, it's just EQ'd out the high end and threw some reverb delay on it and just turned it way down. Didn't want it too loud. I just sent it right out to the master. I didn't put it through any bus processing or anything. I just have it go right out. We have an impact. This also just goes straight out to the master. This was added after. Originally, it didn't have all of these impacts in the breakdown. I have 3 of them. And one at the end. I didn't have one at the end either. It just had a drum outro. And I thought it should, you know, have a bunch of big bass impacts and make the breakdown a little more interesting. You know, when you're in a club and you hear those in the breakdown, it's super cool. They're so loud and so bassy, and it makes like the whole floor shake. And it's sick. It's sick stuff. So I want to throw in a whole bunch of those in the breakdown. I have this sound right here. It's just like a delay clap. And this one was made in the project. And I did decide to send through the FX bus and into the mastering chain. It just didn't get color code yellow. I just, skip it. I do try to be good with my color coding, like as I'm making the track, but FX I always do last. And by the time I'm at the end of the project, I'm just like, I'm in this mode of like, just finish the track. And so I start skipping steps of like color coding everything. So usually if something's not going to be color coded properly, it's going to be the effects. They're going to get left off buses. They're just going to be slotted in just to finish the track up. It's just all about speed. So it's just like a clappy type sound. Oops. I'm pretty sure there was some low end in it cut out. Yeah, that is right. Then just delay, reverb, Maximus to control the transients. I didn't want the transient like at all. And a little bit of side changes so it doesn't hit super hard. I don't want it to be like overpowering, like right when the breakdown starts, just hit with a giant transient, like giant spike. So I just try to tame those a little bit so you're not getting like crazy transients right when the breakdown starts. And then we have a little reverse sound. Nothing crazy, just a little reverse sound. I have some delay on it. And then another reverse sound, which also just has some reverb and delay, some EQ, like, and again, totally standard stuff, nothing crazy. Not hiding anything over here. And then we also have on the breakdown ending, right when it goes back in the drop, I wanted something unique, a unique symbol. Not unique because it's a symbol, it's not unique, but like unique in the context of the song, and that I haven't used the effect at all anywhere else in the track, and it's only going to play once. I wanted a unique symbol hit that sounded interesting right when the breakdown hit. So we pick this symbol out. I don't know why I keep saying we. I mean, I wrote the track myself. I picked out the symbol. You can hear that right there. It sounds kind of cool. It's like a ride. It's not like a regular cymbal crash. It's like a big round. I mean, they're all round, but it's a big cymbal. It's like I don't know, it's just a ride. It has a cool tone to it though. I thought it was interesting. I want to throw it in. I liked it. And it only happens right there. It doesn't happen anywhere else in the track. And that is really, that's it. That's the whole track. That's everything. Let's go to oh wait, did I miss this sound? I did miss this sound. Right, this is just a little pad hit. Again, it's a vengeance sound, you know the drill. I don't have to like show you guys everything with that. You already know, like, because it's the same thing I've been doing the entire tutorial. I pick a synth sound and I just, I did a ton of EQ on this one. You can see all the EQs. I have 5 running, then just reverb and delay, and just mix it into the track. You'd barely even hear it because it's stacked up with this sound. Every time it hits, this synth hits as well. It's just like it's barely under, adding a little bit of character to it. You can kind of hear it's like just barely there, just because I feel like this alone was too flat, so I wanted to add this sound as well. Yeah, that's pretty much the track. We can talk about the mixing buses. So the buses for this track didn't really get anything. I mean, like, look, the synth bus and the bass bus are totally empty. FX bus totally empty. The drum bus did get the transient control, which I talked about earlier. It just didn't need it. If you don't think it needs it, it sounds good as it is. That you can really run into the problem of over processing, over cutting, overworking as well. If you want to keep things a little bit raw, a little bit natural, don't put any processing on it. If you think it sounds good and doesn't need it, then skip it. Don't have to put bus processing on every track you make. And then those go into the first master one, which is the global Maximus for the whole project. I have the lows. And there's just a little cut. I feel like the kick spikes were a little bit too much, so I just want to pull those back. Sometimes the kick is just a little bit too hot. Just pull it back a little bit. Mids, Again, there's sometimes a little spike will hit that's a little bit too much, so just make sure to cap those, don't let anything through. And the highs, I gave a width boost. I made it a little bit extra stereo, and also capped the highs a little bit. I don't want it to be too transient-y. Yeah, master, I did nothing. And then elevate, it was the final step. And again, I didn't have any problems in my mix, so I didn't have to do anything with the advanced settings. I just did the main parameters. Just a little boost here. I actually turned off the drive. I didn't have any spectral clipper on the track. I know with my other tracks I added a little bit. This one, it felt like it really didn't need it. I already was pushing this like at my max. Ideally, I would have wanted this track louder than just a 3.9 boost. Every time I tried to boost it louder, I had insane clipping issues. So I said, you know what? Let me pull back the clipper, pull back the limiter. I messed with the speed, try to get to a point where it felt good, but it still wasn't clipping. So I set like 100 milliseconds, and I made sure to keep everything adaptive. I feel like it just works a little bit better. It does sound a little bit different, in my opinion. Some people think it sounds the same. I think it sounds a little bit different, but I liked it for this track. For this track, I wanted to do full adaptive, and yeah, I would have pushed it louder, but yeah, I just couldn't. I couldn't get it. It wasn't there. The mix was too hot. Which is fine. You know, you don't need to have every track be blasting. I think overall it's a good track. I'm pretty happy with it. You know, I like the production. This is honestly one of my favorites on the EP. Might not be everyone's favorite, but for me and where I was mentally when I wrote this track, you know, it meant a lot to me. And I think I was able to, you know, get out some of those emotions that I'm sure we've all felt over the past, you know, year and a half. So overall, you know, I'm really happy with this track. And I hope you know, learn something about it.